there are some unpleasant deductions to be made.
In the hospital.
I'm unpleasant. I'm not stupid. Of course I'm sure I can count.
Or ought to have been. Something unpleasant.
An unpleasant surprise.
Most unpleasant of the unpleasant
And for an example, let's take the recent unpleasantness
in the news.
Alexander, did you ever see Boone being unpleasant to his wife?
Is it unpleasant?
In life, there are many unpleasant
They're likely
things.
to become irritable, restless, and generally unpleasant.
Complete and utterly loathsome man.
Do you think
I can make things quite unpleasant.
Now, piecing together all the information I've received from London, there are some unpleasant deductions to be made. The power of the bishops is increasing like the pestilence. Soon...
You out of the hospital, we don't want you to go back.
It was very unpleasant in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was there for a couple of months.
2.
Are you sure?
I'm unpleasant. I'm not stupid. Of course I'm sure I can count.
Well, what do you think?
I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't ask him.
Or ought to have been. Something unpleasant anyway. What's he doing down here?
Staying at Penn's Hayes.
Byron, an unpleasant surprise.
What happened?
Flesh is torn as well as cut. Very, very unpleasant.
The loudest, coldest, darkest, most unpleasant of the unpleasant fights.
percentages. And for an example, let's take the recent unpleasantness. Supposing there were 1,000 Wonka bars in...
For you, Bunyin. My granddaughter tells me to expect some unpleasantness in the newspaper.
I'm afraid so, Your Majesty.
Thank you. The man was probably a hire.
Alexander, did you ever see Boone being unpleasant to his wife?
Yes.
Rude.
Fighting. I will explain.
Is it unpleasant?
Deeply.
I can't do that. I can't threaten him like that.
Well, in life, there are many unpleasant things that have to be done.
It's a matter of honor, Mr. Mayor.
My friends, in about an hour's time, if I fail to turn up, they're likely to become irritable, restless, and generally unpleasant.
I am not interested or concerned.
But you are, Fordyce.
A complete and utterly loathsome man. What on earth was my father thinking to entrust
See Elaine again, ever. Those are my orders. Is that clear?
Mrs. Robinson, do you think
I can make things quite unpleasant.
How?
In order to keep Elaine away.
Not at all. We all know him to be a proud, unpleasant sort of fellow. But this would be nothing if you...
He wasn't speaking for all of us.
That was unpleasant. Don't let it happen again. So what's your name, boy?
Don't call me boy.
Elaine, you're a member of this crew. Can you face some unpleasant facts?
No.
All right. Unless I get all those people to a hospital quick
with my belt.
One would be as unpleasant as the other. If you wet your comb, we might tame that.
Shows its usual discriminating kindness by receiving its newcomers rather unpleasantly.
To see you first.
They don't want to hear any more about it. That unpleasantness is all tidied away in the past. Thank you very much.
Wench, you... Harley, you do not need me as an enemy. As it turns out, I am capable of much unpleasantness.
Well, as am I.
It's so tiring being... Now, McCready, sit down.
Sit down. Why don't you tell me to kneel down and beg his pardon for bringing up an unpleasant subject?
You don't have to remind me. I've never forgotten.
No,
Looks like his blood on the window. Seems that he met an unpleasant end, but clearly this photograph, which takes place tomorrow...
Can you stand such an investigation? Will they discover unpleasant things about you? It's blackmail.
Up to 3 days to die. Sounds unpleasant, doesn't it?
How was your trip out? Not too unpleasant, I hope.
Well, I've always enjoyed traveling.
Little remains is made stronger. Put simply, world destruction is an unpleasant but necessary part of evolution.
Yes. And the unpleasant part of it is a priest is suspected.
What nonsense.
Fantastic, isn't it? But
Well, you may as well know it now as never. You'll find you'll have a few unpleasant things to do when you become a bishop.
You found me in quite an unpleasant mood this morning, mate. Now, I'm going to ask you this question one time.
How's the head? Unpleasant. Gotta thank you again for putting up the bail.
It's over, the instructor looks over at me, and she says, "You're driving while unpleasant. It's not technically unsafe."
Cancer-proof.
Total cancer-proof.
Besides, I thought he might find out about me. Make an unpleasant scene. Would you undo me, please?
And now you're refreshed.
Well, no, not entirely. I had an unpleasant dream.
I've had my share.
I dreamt...
I'm not.
Now that looks great. That is...
Are you aware that the Bramford had rather an unpleasant reputation around the turn of the century? It's where the...
Who doesn't he speak to?
You probably, but you wouldn't want him to. He can be just as unpleasant as Harold.
Quickly losing track of who's who here.
I'm veiled out. Look, could you stop saying I was lying? God, okay, I may have dressed up a few facts and omitted a few unpleasant details, but in the main, I mean, my feet...
Has it been acting any differently?
No, he is as unpleasant as usual.
Has it been sick at all?
I don't...
This world who are born to do our unpleasant jobs for us.
You wanna know how that feels? Unpleasant. I honestly can't recommend it.
Had my way about it, they'd all be sent back to Russia or some other unpleasant place.
We get our chance to testify in 3...
See, actually, for 2 or 3 years now, Chiquita and I have had this very unpleasant feeling that we really should get out. And we really should feel like Jews in Germany in the late...
People. A nobody. A non-entity. An unpleasant person.
The prison library. Now that was a great way to avoid some of the more unpleasant aspects of prison life. Confinement was a real education, a real...
It was, however, effective. Of the 23 students tested, only 2 found the experience unpleasant. Some even called it exhilarating. A number of students...
Unless essential, I don't discuss unpleasant matters. An inbring's duty is to protect children, Jake.
It's all right with me. I'm sure he's just as unpleasant in any language.
Unpleasant? Strange? I've been
charged with ravishment by the Greenwich gentility should probably save himself the time and unpleasantness of trial.
Langston, maybe you should just go back to Spain.
Before we begin, I must apologize for the unpleasantness of this task. What you're...
Let us avoid unpleasantness. Sir, I implore you to see reason.
Pete, I've got a mighty unpleasant task to perform.
Fred, you're just going to get me right. I've already...